Back in 1995, enthusiasm in Cleveland, Ohio was high for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It was opening up and having its big concert down at the old Municipal Stadium before it got torn down. And this was a series of shows called Rock on Cleveland that were shown the whole entire week prior to that big concert in the stadium. This one's from August 28th, 1995, and it's when Cleveland loved the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We still do. We get a lot out of it, a lot of tourism, a lot of people coming to Cleveland. Frankly, most people that are Cleveland rock people, they're like, shoot, jump the shark, as they said on Happy Days. You know, it should be the Popular Music Hall of Fame. I'm not going to go into that, but this is cool back when it was the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Rock on Cleveland. Cleveland rocked. We used to get tours stopping here. We used to see our cities on the national weather map. Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
The following is a special presentation from 19 WOIO. Coming to you live from the North Coast Harbor, home of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. This is Rock on Cleveland.
Good evening and welcome to Rock on Cleveland. I'm Denise DeFalla, coming to you live from the deck of the steamship William G. Mather.
So live from North Coast Harbor, this is the first of 5 live Cleveland television news specials celebrating rock and roll and the grand opening of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. A lot of stories to tell this week.
A lot of stories, Evan. In addition to those stories, during the next 5 days, we'll be welcoming very special guests to help host our show. And tonight, Deborah Norville from the nationally syndicated show Inside Edition is joining us. Deborah, thanks so much for being here.
I thank you for inviting me. This is so exciting to be here in Cleveland. This is 10 years in the making, and It's right here behind us. And I just wish I could stay in this spot until Saturday night when the real fun's going to kick off behind us.
That's right, the 6-hour-long concert. Well, first to get started, let's go back to Emmett across from Key Plaza for today's rock and roll developments.
All right, thanks a lot, Denise. This has been a busy day out here today. If you were down here, you would have seen it. All the crews are getting ready for the big concert on the big day. That's right, they were running around the Rock Hall. The massive tent for the Gala celebration Friday evening is up at this point. Construction workers and sound engineers are getting ready the booths for visiting radio stations. Starting tomorrow, listeners around the country will be hearing live broadcasts from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And at the stadium, preparations for the historic concert Saturday night are almost finished. As of right now, there are more than 24 artists planning to take the stage starting at 7:30.
I will be there to enjoy it. Now, the idea to construct a Hall of Fame for rock and roll came to Atlantic Records chairman Ahmet Ergun in 1983.
And that was when Cleveland started the big, hard, full-court press to try to bring the museum here more than 10 years ago. And as you all know, there were definitely times when it just looked like it wasn't going to happen.
Definitely, a lot of those times. But of course, we would not give up. On July 18th, 1985, Governor, then Mayor Voinovich, and several business leaders first went to New York City to make a pitch for the Hall of Fame. And then there were the petitions signed by 650,000 Clevelanders who went to New York to drive the point home. Clevelanders have insisted all along the museum. This persuasive effort, complete with the appearance of Chubby Checker, followed the now infamous USA Today poll in January, when Cleveland topped several other suggested cities with 110,000 votes.
The city is not only, well, does not only want the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, we are now saying we are giving proof that we demand it.
Cleveland's #1, they deserve it.
Cleveland is the best.
Eventually, the Rock Hall Board in New York agreed. This victory rally at Burke Airport on May 5th, 1986 welcomed Governor Dick Celeste and Mayor George Voinovich back from the Big Apple the day they got the news.
It's nice to be home, back in the All-America City, the home of the first place Indians and the home of the Rock and Roll. Huey Lewis said it, the heart of rock and roll is in Cleveland. The waiting is over and we got it.
Between then and now, there have been missteps and milestones. The Founders Club fundraising drive kicked off in June of 1987. Along with a series of concerts, this one a few months later in August helped raise the initial $40 million needed to convince the New York board we were serious. The groundbreaking was set for 1991. But that date changed to 1992 when the site changed from Tower City to the Inner Harbor, forcing architect I.M. Pei to change his original design. Then the date changed again to 1993 when even more money was needed to get to the groundbreaking. The gala to break ground June 7th, 1993 drew a lot of stars to the waterfront. Chuck Berry, Billy Joel, and even Elvis helped make rock history. In July the next year, Jerry Lee Lewis showed up to mark the end of the first phase of construction when the structure was topped off with a steel beam signed by thousands of Clevelanders. And as the building grew, so did the collection. The first significant artifacts of Janis Joplin memorabilia came in 1991. And under museum director Dennis Berry and curator James Henke, it grew to include an Elvis Presley collection, including his black leather costume from his famous 1968 television special. And now the collection includes Buddy Holly's high school diploma, Grace Slick's dress from Woodstock, and Wilson Pickett's guitar.
And they'd be mad at us if we told everything that was in there, but that's just some of the stuff you can see on more than 5 floors of the museum behind us.
Right.
Emmett?
They'd be here for hours if we told them everything that was inside there. But we will tell them this. There are 122 inductees, and they're going to be honored in a very, very special way. We're going to have a sneak preview of that special way coming up. And this master guitarist. First, take a look at one of Cleveland's longtime favorite radio DJs' favorite rock song of all time.
Hi, this is Larry Morrow from Q104. Here is the greatest rock and roll song of all time, at least my favorite anyway.
And welcome back. When the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame opens up on Labor Day weekend, there's going to be a whole lot to see and do inside there. But there's a very special place at the top of the Rock Hall dedicated to 122 artists. Michael Shefsky's got a preview on that. Mike?
Well, Emmett, in that room at the top of the Stairway to Heaven, the museum will honor the inductees. Now, there's going to be video plaques for each and every one of those inductees. Now, the Hall of Fame hasn't told us what these plaques will look like or given us any indication, but we have our ways. And tonight, for the first time, you'll see, as well as B.B. King, how B.B. King will be presented on tape.
Hey, everybody, let's have some fun. You only live but once, and when you're dead, you're done, so let the good times roll.
B.B. King lives up to his name. He's the king of the blues and a 1987 inductee into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He and the other 121 artists will be honored with a video plaque that chronicles their career and accomplishments. But B.B. has a pretty hectic touring schedule, so we surprised him with a preview of his plaque. It'll be a sneak peek for you, too. The first time you'll be able to see how the Hall of Famers will be remembered in Cleveland. Now, the videos have a short text outlining an artist's career, plus comments from that person explaining their music. Here's how B.B. King views himself, and how others will see him.
When you're playing a guitar, I think it's like telling a story. You got to have a punchline. You got to try to make the people interested in what you're talking about. And if I'm talking about the 3 bears, I got to tell the whole story of the 3 bears. You got to see Mama Bear.
How couldn't I think of something, some other kind of story?
Same thing, I think, with the guitar.
How about Goldilocks?
You're waiting for
But that is the 3 bears.
looking for something else. You're saying. So you're you're listening. You're following right along. It's like somebody leading you to a path, to a garden of beautiful fruits.
Had to be some food in there.
We don't need to tell you, he liked it.
I'm very pleased. It's beyond my wildest dream that this would ever happen. I'm very pleased, very pleased.
The pleasure is all ours, BB, all ours. And how. Now, you're going to hear the word exclusive a lot this week on our special Rock on Cleveland series, and with good reason. Now, we've learned from a source close to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in New York about some surprise guests for the Hall of Fame show this weekend. Check out this lineup. They haven't been announced yet, but Jackson Browne, the Family Stone, maybe Sly will be with them, the band with Robbie Robertson and Bob Dylan, Joe Cocker, Crosby, Stills, Nash, and possibly Neil Young, Sam Moore of Sam and Dave, the Gin Blossoms, Slash and Axl Rose, Hart, Billy Preston, Van Morrison, and The Edge from U2. Quite a lot. Hendrix and some other folks as well. Now, my fax machine is running. I have to get back, so I'm going to send it back to the William Mather for Denise DeFala and Deborah Norville.
Mike, I tell you, I have to, like, restrain Denise. She's so excited. What I Am Pay is built behind, but so many buildings, including that incredible stadium you've got down the road here, are now playing.
That's right.
Unbelievable.
Jacobs Field, you should be there when a game is on. It's a lot of fun. And a little bit later in the show, we're going to check in with Gretchen Carlson, who is at Jacobs Field tonight. But first, I'll introduce you to the architect behind the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I Am Pei, when we come right back. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Museum could be Cleveland's most unique structure and a good reflection of the man who designed it.
I Am Pei, the architect behind the Louvre renovation and the John F. Kennedy Library, was asked to create this museum just as soon as the project was conceived.
And conceived, Deborah, is really the right word. I met with Mr. Pei in New York, and he told me this Rock Hall is like one of his children. A man who at one time knew very little about rock and roll will end up being a part of rock history and our history forever.
They mentioned this rock and roll thing, and I really thought that they'd come to the wrong place.
But the committee had chosen the right man. They just needed to open his eyes to the world of rock.
They took me down to Graceland to see Elvis' home, and then also go down to New Orleans. And New Orleans part is the most important, because that's where I learned about jazz, rhythm and blues, country music. You see, these are all roots of rock and roll.
And capturing those roots and the spirit of rock history gave him the blueprint in his brain.
How can it be better symbolized than pitching a tent? You know, a tent. It's a glass tent, this one that you see. And then excitement is inside the tent, and you sense the movement. You know, the tent is not something that just stay taut. It bulges because of the music, the sound.
So it's not designed to look like a turntable with a needle arm swooping down like some have thought.
People have imagination. They think of all kinds of things, and that's good. That means they're interested in the building.
And there's been a lot of interest worldwide in his buildings. The Chinese-born American architect is famous for the massive facelift of the Louvre in Paris and his striking designs at the National Gallery in Washington and the John F. Kennedy Library in Boston. I Am Pei, the architect, has certainly designed many famous buildings worldwide, but I Am Pei, the artist, would like all of us to appreciate them, not just his buildings, but his works of art. For example, here at the Four Seasons Hotel in New York City, he used the same stone in this lobby as he did in his famous Louvre project in Paris.
Architecture is really, it's an art form, no doubt about it. If it doesn't have the art component, then it's just plain building.
In 1964, the Kennedy family considered the world's leading architects for designing the John F. Kennedy Library. Jackie Kennedy Onassis said she chose I Am Pei because she felt, like John F. Kennedy,
his best work was yet to come. We agree.
And we're very glad to have his work right here in Cleveland.
Oh, I bet.
What a nice man. Very gracious man. Very humble. Emmett, now to you.
All right, thanks a lot, Denise. Obviously, the opening of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is the most significant thing going on in Cleveland right now, but it's not the only game in town. We've got the Cleveland National Air Show that's going to kick off this weekend over at the field behind me here. The Tribe is back in town for a 4-game homestand against Toronto, and that's where we find Gretchen Carlson, live down on Jacobs Field. Can you feel the energy, Gretchen?
Oh, you certainly can, Emmett. And you may or may not know this, but music, rock and roll, has a big influence on the Tribe. Of course, they're playing behind me right now in the Jake, but if you've ever been to a game and you notice when they call a player up to bat, you hear that special music? Well, in fact, every player has their own special music. It's called their theme song. And tonight, we decided to go behind the scenes and catch up with the music man who plays those tunes.
Mark Trumbull will say, now batting number 7, Kenny Lofton. And all I do is hit that button.
You're watching Darryl Scott at work. His office, this audio board. His job, punching up the right music when a player comes up to bat. So Omar Vizquel comes up to bat.
Omar comes up, I go to cut 62, which is from the Pulp Fiction soundtrack. It's a tune called Miserlou, and once again, Mark Trumbull will say, here's Omar Vizquel, and we hear...
Like Pulp Fiction for Omar, each player has their own theme song, something they want to hear before they take a swing. It's an inspirational tool.
It's a motivational piece. It kind of gets them in the focus that they need to face whatever pitcher might be coming up.
Now, sometimes Darryl picks out other music for the players before they step up to the plate, like the time he decided to play some music for Elbert Bell, who normally just likes silence. Well, Darryl decided to play a tower bell for Bell. But unfortunately, Bell struck out, and Darryl, well, he got a call from the dugout.
Players are superstitious. Albert said last year, I hit 330, I hit 30 home runs, I drove in 118 RBIs, I didn't have any music. He said, I just want to go back to that right now.
You know, for the most part, I think, you know, it's nice to have music because I think it gets the crowd into the game and it kind of gets, you know, gets you pumped up a little bit and, you know, it's fun.
Now, you may be wondering what Darryl Scott plays for the opposing teams when they come up to bat. Well, he tells me he plays absolutely nothing. He doesn't want to give them any home field advantage. Back to you, Emmett.
Well, no matter what home field advantage they had, you know who's going to win, don't you, Gretchen? Foregone conclusion. At any rate, we're all winning with the weather the way it is. Julie Hanahan joins me now live.
Weather has been fantastic today, and it looks like weather is going to hold out not completely through the week, but it looks like we've got a pretty good forecast coming up. Some showers may be coming into our forecast by the time we hit Wednesday, and possibly even into Thursday a little bit. But Friday, things cool down, but sunshine is back with us, 83 degrees, and sunshine for the big concert on Saturday as well, 79.
A lot of sunshine.
A lot of sunshine.
A lot of golden rays. That's going to be a blast. You gonna get to hear a little bit about it?
I wouldn't miss it.
All right. Sounds good.
Sure.
All right, let's go back to Denise.
Thanks, guys. And we're going to talk to some rock and rollers about their memories of playing in Cleveland when we come right back.
And welcome back. A lot of rock and rollers have come through Cleveland this summer, and as they have, we've gotten a chance to speak with a few of them about their philosophy, about their music, about how they feel about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And it's no big surprise that most of them believe it does belong here.
Come, and it's going to be not only great for tourism, but it's going to just be great. Rock and roll needed that home and deserved it. And, thank you all for having us.
I think that they just have to be careful who they induct, how they keep playing those cards so it doesn't get old and stupid and pretty soon they start inducting just any Joe Blow because he's been around for 25 years. I think that they should keep it prestigious and cool, and let's really hope, mainly, that some of these rock and roll people live to be 25 years in their career.
The industry itself changes for a number of reasons. You'll never be able to put your finger on who did what, when. But I think now that you have this is going to probably be one of the best Hall of Fame. You know, because rock and roll is, you know, it's religious after Woodstock.
You know, foundations like Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Rhythm and Blues Foundation are a great education in American culture for people that would otherwise maybe take it for granted that it, like their generation invented it or something.
When they come and see what musicians and artists have achieved, this can also spark something within themselves, that dreams can come true. And no matter what you do, as long as you love it and you put your heart and soul into it, this is what can happen. And I think that's what everybody wants to do. Every human being wants to be known to have done something. And I hope that it will inspire people.
This is where it's happening. It's almost time to wrap things up here from the Mather, and we'll be back in a moment.
Rock On Cleveland is sponsored by your Northeast Ohio Ford dealers. Your Ford dealers are winning Ohio over. Best Cuts, we've got your style. Molson Ice from Canada, the land where ice was born. Galleria at Erie View, East 9th and St. Clair downtown. And Best Buy. Some places are known for great music. Best Buy is one of them.
Well, we're almost out of time. Time to close up shop a little bit here. But before we do, we want to remind everybody that Cleveland Television News is going to have live broadcasts from here at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame every night at 7 o'clock. And then on Friday, we're going to have a live telecast, actually a simulcast between 19 and 43, starting at noon of the grand opening festivities.
And before we say goodnight, officially from the steamship William G. Mather, I want to say a very good thank you to Deborah Norville, who has joined us tonight with Inside Edition.
Thank you, and we're glad to be on your station starting Monday night at 7.
Can't wait to see you then, every night. Thanks, Deborah. For Emmett, Gretchen, Mike, and Julie, and Deborah, good night. I'm Denise DeFala.